All right, and there she is. All
Hello.
righty. I'm going to read Amy's bio because she has a really great background. Um, we've known Amy, a number of years now, I guess. She had attended a couple of our support groups for the brain tumor patients, and she has written this great book. So Dr. Amy Knauff lives in Western Pennsylvania with her loving husband and 3 adventurous children. I love that. I think that's awesome. Through her greatest challenge yet, I'm sure. Through her service trips to Haiti and other countries, she enjoyed serving people and learning life lessons. She earned a bachelor's degree from Gannon University in Erie, Pennsylvania, followed by a naturopathic doctorate from Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine in Tempe, Arizona. She had a solo medical practice in Vermont for several years, all while struggling with recurrent brain cancer, which is just absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Dr. Knopf has been through 4 brain surgeries, radiation, and chemotherapy. She currently has a 5th tumor. After undergoing more than a year of treatment, she has decided that quality of life is more important than quantity. God has blessed her with a supportive family and friends for whom she is grateful. Dr. Knopf practices mindfulness each day and is thankful to God for the miracle of breath, the miracle of life, and the miracle of death. With all of that being said, we welcome Dr. Amy Knopf.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I wrote a book, and it's called Beloved in Brain Cancer, Living Each Moment as If It Were Your Last. And it's actually I'm able to release it today. So if you go to my website, which is belovedandbraincancer.com, you can see more about my story, and look at videos of other interviews that I've been in, read comments from other people, and also you can order the book or the ebook. So, but I want to say, first off, I'm going to read you some sections of my book, and what I'd really love is if we could have be able to interact about some of the things that I talk about, because I know that most of you have experienced. But I want to say right off that I am Catholic, and I realize that my story gets a little spiritual at times, but the end goal is not to promote Catholicism by any means. And so if there is a word or phrase or something, how you refer to the higher being, I try to do that in my writing, but put that in where I say God, because it's the higher being within us. The other thing I want to say is that I use masculine pronouns for God in my story, and mostly that's based off of I know we have a divine higher being who exists beyond gender, and I get actually, it hurts me to hear he or she or they. And so I chose to use he because that's what Jesus used when he was here. But we just have to try our best to get that across. So those are the 2 things, I wanted to say first off. So this book was actually written for my children. I wanted to give them something to know where I was, who I was, what my life looked like, in each category or general life experiences that they will have. And so I'll read you. This book first started as letters I wrote to my children for major life events, graduating high school and college, things to look for in a spouse and getting married, how to care for a newborn, how meditation can benefit their entire lives. Those letters contain lessons I wish I had known in my youth, but had to learn over a lifetime. Likewise, I hope this book will be a way for me to always be present in my children's lives, even after my physical body is gone. I also hope this book will help them and you live the meaningful, abundant, extraordinary life that the divine intends for each of us. Now, I say that, and my middle son, his name is Everest, and he asked me just recently, he was sitting in my room and he's like, well, so you said that you wrote this book as letters, but where are the letters? And I was like, well, you're holding the letters. I worked them into the book. And he's like, yeah, but where are the letters? Like, where's something addressed to me? And I, after a few days, realized that what he was asking for, and kind of the more current than current chapter in my book is, you know, he wanted a letter addressed just to him, and for when I go. And I felt like I just could not write goodbye to the people in my family that I love. And so on my third surgery, I had a stroke in the surgery. And so my entire right side was affected by this stroke. And so my handwriting has, ever since that, has never fully come back. But I have noticed in recent time, it's gotten harder and harder to write even sort of legibly. And so I sat down, and I know that I need to do those letters for him, for his brother and sister, for my husband. And I think, you know, what those notes contain is why I love them, and why, and the things about them, each one of them that are special to me, and that I will, you know, I love about them, and letting them know that I will always be here for them as well. And so, you know, before I wrote that, and for months before, I would just cry whenever I would say that I would have to write the notes, because I just felt like it's too hard. It's too hard to write goodbye. But when I turned it into a see you later, I could manage, you know, but afterwards, I feel like, so I typed it out first, and then I slowly hand wrote it, which now is just about making my letters legible. And it turned out to be 3 pages long. But I wrote it, and I put it in an envelope, and I put it away. And, you know, afterwards, I feel like I can truly just be with him and all of them, but I need to write those letters for the other 3 people. So what I was wondering is, have any of you written notes or letters to the people that you love? And so that is kind of an open-ended question.
Oh, I could say
that.
I could say that. Can I talk?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead. And feel free to unmute one at a time to be able to share, for sure.
Okay. My name's Janet, and I could totally relate to what you were talking about, because I used to do spiritual reading with this Dr. Tony DeMeo from India. And he said that to be totally free, and he did a lot of work with in this book that I read on detachment. And that's how you detach. That's how he felt. That was an exercise in detaching from the people that you love. If you can detach from the people you love, then you'll be free, you know. And so the exercise was to write and say goodbye to everyone. And I did that. It was an exercise that I did. But now that I've had cancer, that I did that before I had cancer. Now that I've had cancer, I definitely want to write letters. I really do. Yeah. I've started, one of the things that led me to think that I want to write letters is because I went through a project of burning my journals.
Oh man.
I put a lot of things in my journals, good and bad, and I don't want my family to read the bad. So I've gone through the process of, I started reading my journals and throwing them in the fire. And yeah, and so that when I'm gone, which I will be gone someday, and when I'm gone, then they only have positive writings from me, not the day-to-day complaints and complaints about them. I don't want to.
Well, I think writing allows us to do that, right? Like you need to purge those thoughts that are about your worries, your feelings, your future, past, all of that stuff. I think for me, it took me 2 years of purging before I finally got enough under information and I came up with chapter titles and all that stuff. And I finally wrote the book. It was 2 years of just getting it all out there, and then figuring out how to put it into a book, So I think it would really be a good thing, and especially because you have cancer, to pass on what what your life has been, what you hope for them, I think I write in here to do that. And I was like, making it a book is totally optional, but I think it's really important to do. Does anyone else have any comment, anything to say?
Because I do poetry, every year when my children's birthdays are, my stepdaughter's birthday, I write whatever it is I want to tell them for that particular year in poetic form.
Oh, that's awesome.
So when they get their card, that's what they have. They know what mother is thinking. Or my husband, he gets triple because he gets it for both his birthday, our anniversary, and Christmas. So, constantly letting them know how I feel at that time in my life about them, So that's how I do it. This is interesting. It's interesting because I've never thought of some of the things you say to put in there, I do what I feel I want to tell them, but some of the things that you've spoken about, I don't think I've done that. So that's very interesting. I appreciate you so much.
Well, and like I said, it's hard. It's really hard. And I didn't even write about that piece in my book because I would just cry. But I feel like after doing it, now I feel a release, I was told that in the Hindu religion, before a practicing, I can't think of the word because I have brain cancer, they would say a poem and then they would die. And I thought, what beautiful closing words to come in poetry form. And I actually have included, I am also a poet, a poet. What is a poet? Yeah. But the really interesting thing is, well, two things. I wrote a poem specifically for my children. Each one of them, there's a verse about them. But I feel like it can apply to all children, all, you know, but I had written most of my poems when I was 14, 17, 20. And it's really interesting to see how well what I said at that point totally suits and fits where I am now, which is, it's like I've always known, even though I had no idea, you know what I mean? And I will end this session with a poem for you guys to hear my poetry. So the next part, and I'm pretty sure that all of you have experienced this at some point, is finding out your diagnosis, right? I wrote, in medical school, because I'm actually a naturopathic physician, like Wendy said, in medical school, I learned to ask what my prognosis is for a forecast for the likely course of my illness. What I really wanted to know was, how long does someone with my type of brain cancer usually live? When I asked this question to Dr. Smith, my neurosurgeon, he told Adam, my husband, and I, that the longest he had seen a person with my diagnosis survive was 13 years. Most patients, though, only have a couple of years at best, because eventually the tumor evolves into a grade 4 glioblastoma multiforme, which is what majority of people get diagnosed as. However, at the time of writing this in 2020, mine hasn't yet. In fact, this is my now 17th year of living with a grade 3 tumor. And yes, that is a miracle itself, a miracle that I am thankful for every day. It also demonstrates why it is so important not to take a single day for granted, for me with brain cancer and for you with whatever you're struggling with. But this is where I am today. At the time, I was very angry with God for giving me a brain with recurrent cancer, and also about the prognosis that we had gotten. I had a family and a good life. I was almost finished with a medical degree in a field that I loved. I just couldn't understand. The more I thought about it, the more furious I became, to the point of feeling enraged with God. What did I do to deserve this? Why did the tumors keep coming back? Why was I married to a husband that I loved and blessed with 2 beautiful children that I will someday have to leave behind? I really questioned how God can be a loving God and yet allow good people to get sick or die. All the questions and doubts from losing my sister and then my grandparents came flooding back, just as intense now as they had been at that time. I think, you know, I think at this point, and I
Find your fit with a fresh career at GetGo. Become a team member and start advancing fast. If competitive compensation.
I think at this point, just to take a breath and just kind of sit with that for a moment, you know, the shock of being diagnosed and you know, just take a couple of deep breaths. Some of you may be experiencing anger, pain, grief. This is where I learned to meditate, to help see the pain, to accept the pain, and then move through the pain. I feel like cancer brings gifts. And the first gift, and I feel like you all know this, is, you know, it can be a lonely place to be, to have cancer, and to know that you're not alone, to know that there are support groups of people that can relate to where you are. And, you know, I'm so grateful that these groups have moved to online, you know, because I feel like that's something that we all need. And I went to a cancer seminar in Stowe, Vermont, and a couple times actually, but the lead speaker, he said he was talking about death or cancer, he said, you know, cancer is not a death sentence. It's a chronic illness. I mean, even if it's a terminal cancer, it's a chronic illness that you live with, and you may, you know, you make changes, but it's a chronic illness. And I thought, chronic illness is something that I can handle. You know, I think any other, a death sentence, it was so terrifying. But chronic illness, I can do that, you know, and so that's kind of was a part of my shift in how I see things. I think that the other thing that cancer gives us is the opportunity to have a long, slow goodbye to the people and the things that you love. Many people do not get to do this. I think, you know, people who die of COVID that are totally alone, people who, you know, are in an automobile accident or whatever, like they don't have the time that we are given to say what we need to say, to be in a place of love and to be able to accept and listen to. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But I also think that cancer gives us the gift of when I know that talking about death in our culture is a very taboo thing and no one wants to do it. But I think that it's a really great chance for you to do your advanced directives, because you are not dying, because you are conscious, you are well. And, you know, I think, and for me to save my husband from having to make those decisions on my deathbed, I have already made them. Everything is done. And so we just walk through and are able to just be in each moment instead of worrying about, you know, what to do. I think, you know, you can even print them out and have your spouse or your adult children, you know, sit around a table and tell each other and write down what you want, you know. So there are, in Pennsylvania, there are two different forms that to fill out, well, that you could fill out. The first is the PA Advanced Healthcare Directive. And that is in really simple form of what you want and don't want, and you just check boxes. And you, and so that's something that is the patient directed. The other form is called POLST, Pennsylvania Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. The POLST form is medical orders from your doctor telling everyone what you want. And so I think to have both is better than just having one or the other, because then you know that what you want is written down in your handwriting with your signature, and that to have the other form where a doctor will affirm what you've said and sign off that they are putting that into your chart and that they are instructing the rest of the healthcare community to follow your advanced directive. So I think Wendy's going to put these in the chat box, but if you go to prepareforyourcare.org, you can click on advanced directives, choose your state, and then fill it out. And it's really simple to fill out. And, you know, if you need help, find, I think the Cancer Caring Center is an amazing place to get that help. If you don't know what certain things mean or anything like that. And then health.pa.gov, you can put in the search bar POLST, and they'll pull up the POLST form that you print out and bring to your doctor. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I have kind of I was in undergrad to become a physician assistant, and then I went to medical school. And so I actually had cadaver lab twice. I had it once in undergrad and again in med school. And we were so grateful to the people that donated their bodies to be cadavers in an anatomy lab. And so one of the women that was in my undergrad lab, she was 45 and she died of breast cancer. And so when we were dissecting the breast, they took out the cancer and I held it in my hand, which is it's a crazy thing to know when people have, breast cancer. I've seen it, like not their breast cancer specifically, I guess, but, realizing that there's a change in tissue and just, we were so grateful that, because most of the people that donate their bodies are, elderly patients or elderly people. And she was so young. So in Pennsylvania, it's called Human Gifts Registry. And the website is hggrpa.org. So I feel like that's something that I want to give back to the medical community to train future doctors. I know that we gave them nicknames, and I know that, one of the bodies, I was sitting there and we pulled out the eye and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so squishy. And my professor walked by and was like, be respectful to your bodies, but I just feel like I will be in heaven howling laughing when, they pull my tendons to move my hand or give me a nickname and all that stuff. Like, for me, I actually look forward to them doing that, because, you have to have a little levity to help with the learning of dissection. And it's a tough class to be in. So I feel like when they get to my head, they'll be like, holy cow, everyone come over and look at my body. She's got like half a brain. Like, how did she? And I just, all of that brings me joy to know that I will also be a body to dissect. And the thing is, they will cremate your ashes after they're done dissecting, and it could take up to 2 years. But your family has to write a letter to them saying that they want your remains back. Otherwise, they'll bury it in a memorial grave. And the other thing is, as far as ashes go, I've thought a lot about, I was diagnosed 17 years ago. It was the day before my husband graduated from undergrad, and 2 months from when we moved to Arizona for med school. And I really think that I want my ashes to be put in an urn that mixes with soil, and you can put a sapling and you grow into a tree, and to have roots that go down and to have branches that come up. I feel like it's a great way for me, instead of being buried in a cemetery. And, I think to give life and to plant the tree in my yard and know that my great grandchildren will be shaded by the tree. And, that brings me a lot of joy. And the bio urn that I'm going to order is called the livingurn.com. I think a lot of places give you seeds. This company gives you a sapling, so it's a better opportunity for the tree to grow. But yeah, so that's all of what I have to say about end of life. You know, it's really important, and it's, I think, really valuable to do that for your family and let them know what you want while you're able to make the decision. So the next part I'm going to read. In learning about Buddhist and contemplative Christian meditation, I realized the importance of resisting notions about God in order to have direct experience with him. Father George continues to teach me today that in meditation, what he said to me so long ago is now all the more true. Everything you need to know is already within you. I see now that by being fully present in the moment, I can heal the suffering within myself while also helping those around me. Looking inward to my beloved self and living out of that love has been the calling of my life. My hope is that you will also discover your calling as you encounter the beloved within yourself in meditation. What I'm wondering, you know, there are so many different types of meditation, you know, guided and music and silence and mantra. Have any of you tried meditation? I know it's really a common thing to say, but have you actually done it? This is open time.
Hi, Aim. It's Lori.
Hi, Lori.
I am definitely into meditation. I say it now as I used to dabble. Years ago, I dabbled with it, but today it is a daily practice. Absolutely. And I can't tell you the wonders it's done for me. So yeah, I'm totally up for meditation all the time, every day.
How do you feel like, what do you feel like it does for you?
It keeps me centered. Like today when I had to do it, I have these new symptoms from this new chemo and they were really painful today. So I called somebody and she goes, did you do your meditation? I said, no, I did my prayer, but I got up too late and I couldn't meditate. So I had to hurry up, get back to that meditation. And I had to send all of that. I started with, what did I start with? Air and then water. I was flushing water through me, you know, and then I went to the healing light and all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of feel it all through my body, you know, and when you meditate and you go there, it is amazing. The pain in my feet went away instantly because I had sent all that healing energy through my body. And I had music on too. I'm into the music too, the soothing music in the background. Yeah. So thank you, Amy. Love seeing you.
I love seeing you too. Has anyone else tried meditation?
I have. I really find that it helps a lot to just keep me from getting like over the top in anything, you know, like thinking about the cancer or getting aggravated with anything or any of those types of things.
Yeah.
And I had thought about it my entire life, and then Netflix. I was saved by Netflix. Netflix had a meditation program that they had on, and it was was it called Brainworks or something like that? But anyways, and they showed a lot of different ways to do the meditation, and it worked. It works beautifully for me. I find it amazing that I can actually shut my brain off, and you know that practicing that and getting that down was probably the hardest thing to get it all to work.
Well, I think, you know, when I first, you know, was looking into meditation, I thought, so I'm supposed to sit here silent and keep my brain from running a mile a minute. And, you know, the point is, no, your brain will run, even if you've been doing it, you know, for 20 years.
Mhm.
When you're quiet, your brain kind of is like, oh, now I can tell you all the stuff that I've been wanting to say, but you've been caught up in the busyness of life. And so I haven't had the chance. And I think the Buddhist way is just to have a mantra and accept what is. And Thich Nhat Hanh says to embrace it like a mother would embrace her baby, her crying baby, and just allow that to be, and then return your mind to the mantra and keep going, you know. And he said, if you even do 5 minutes of meditation, you'll see a difference in how your day progresses, how, you know, what you're experiencing. You know, we can't change what has happened, but we can change how we are in the present moment. And that therefore changing all of the future memories, because we are present in each moment. So he also, Thich Nhat Hanh also talks a lot about, and why I really like him is because he talks about, you know, walking meditation, sitting meditation, drinking tea meditation, doing dishes meditation, and I think that because if you're always mindful, if you're always in a meditative place, then you are present in the current moment, and you can be present with the people that you love and really hear them, really be with them. Have any of you else experienced that?
I'd like to say, first of all, thank you for the wonderful talk, and how you might not like the term, but it's very inspirational to me and everyone else. I think your story is just very touching and very wonderful and compassionate. Thank you. I have a couple comments on that. I've done wellness now for 2.5, 3 years now, which has helped me tremendously. I think the reaction control that you can have to events in your life happen on a daily basis, an hourly basis, a minute basis. That is how you eliminate. And Wendy's talked about toxicity before, and I totally agree with that. If you can eliminate your reaction to toxicity in your life, I think you eliminate a lot of your stress.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not an easy thing to do, whether it's through meditation or it's through whatever manner that you have. I believe that's what got me to being NED after 4 years of metastatic cancer also.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a reaction. And one other comment, if someone else would like to chime in on this, would be, my sister died at a very young age, 26 years ago, of cancer at 33. She carried a little amulet, or a little keychain, that said "one day at a time." And I remember that. And I had no idea what she was going through until I got cancer, of course. No idea in the world. I mean, I thought I was a very attentive brother, and honestly, I probably wasn't, now that I think back on it, but I love my sister, still do. The one day at a time did not work for me. I know you could use that to get through a particular day, but I discovered, at least for me, I had to have something to plan for like 3 months down the road, or 6 months, or even a year. Plan something that was important to me to feel like a person again. Even if I would get a detour being treated again, which I will with metastatic probably. Most of my friends have. But I think having that purpose or resolve to look past your current daily struggles, to me, was inspirational to me. So I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Well, and I feel like, you know, when you meditate and really go deep within yourself, your encounter, it's a very vulnerable place to be, because that's where you're suffering, you know.
It's
And
scary.
so it is scary.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's why, like, 5 minutes, I was like, oh, well, I can do 5 minutes. Like, that's nothing.
No, it's,
You know, and now it's longer than that. But I feel like once you see how much that you're suffering, you can also see that you're held, that you're loved, that the divine providence is holding you within that suffering, you know. And I think for me, it then, you know, I kind of feel like life teaches us in concentric circles. You know, you go around. And I thought for a long time that it was just circle, but it's a concentric circle in that, you know, every time you come upon whatever you're learning, you learn it deeper. You learn it more completely. And, you know, for me, it was seeing that I have pain, and I, instead of being angry at why, you know, I think there is no why. It just is, you know.
You have to let go of the why. I found you have to let go of the why part and accept how you react to your difficulties, the new difficulties or the new way of life. To ask why it was me doesn't get you anywhere.
Right.
It's a sympathy thing. I just don't see that it works in any long term. It's a way to squash it short term, but it doesn't eliminate anything until you let go of it.
No. And I have to say, you know, my husband has been a fantastic caregiver through all of this. However, I realized that caregiving is a mutual loving gift that you give to each other. It's having each other's back. And he was having my back, and I was handing off more and more responsibility as, you know, I got sick, or, you know, I was in medical school, or I had boards, or I had a busy medical practice. And like, he was just taking on each responsibility, you know, until he got to the point where he's like, I can't do anymore. I can't do anymore. And I think, you know, realizing the need to really be present and to listen to his pain, to his, you know, suffering, to his hardship with all of this, because I realized that, you know, it's not just me with brain cancer, it's us with brain cancer, because all of my surgeries and all of my, you know, finding that new normal 4 times over, and it involves him too. And when I was so angry, I didn't have the space to even comprehend what he could feel, because I just was only looking at myself, you know. And I feel
I'm sorry, Wendy had an excellent speaker here one time when she talked about, for caregivers and for the cancer patients, that everyone has to play an instrument in the orchestra and talk to each other, how they're going to harmonize together and do all those little things, because one person cannot do it all. Particularly the caregivers, they'll get crushed.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, 5 tumors in, I think, you know, realizing once I finally came to that, you know, knowing that I'm suffering, knowing that I'm loved, and then seeing suffering in everyone else, because I would get so mad at people because they'd be like, well, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. You know, no one knows that they're going to live forever. And I was like, but I have brain cancer. But I realized in that concentric circle way, yeah, we all have stuff we're struggling with. And to be able to show love to other people, starting with my family, you know, but being smiling, open the door, say, how are you? You know, those kinds of things. I think it's how we all want to be treated, you know, and to have someone really listen and really be there with you. That's what we all want, you know.
Absolutely. I'm going to interject just because you guys are just, you're all wonderful. I mean, listening to you is just like so refreshing because you all get it. And as a therapist, boy, that feels really good listening to you all, right? And how wise you are. I have that famous phrase that some of you have heard my lecture on, how all of you just become wiser through this. You may not see that, you may not feel that, but boy, you are. And, 3 things I always do when I do couples and family counseling is 3 things you must say to each other. And that goes both ways. First thing is, I'm sorry, because we're all gonna, make mistakes along our path, right? Say things we shouldn't. Second thing is thank you, right? I talked to a woman yesterday about this, and we talked about the fact that she has metastatic ovarian cancer. And she said to me, I just, I said, have you ever said thank you to your spouse? She said, I don't think I have, Wendy. And I said, that perhaps is something you might think about doing. It might be helpful. They might need to hear that you actually said thank you. And the third thing, of course, is I love you. Those are 3 things that everybody should be practicing with or without illness. And it's just loving, but you guys put it very, very beautifully. So, so kudos to you all.
Well, and like I said, this is 17 years in. This was not where I was even at my 3rd surgery. I just, once I found out my prognosis, I was so angry. And, over time learning that the why questions, like you said, you need to walk past that. And I think there really is a difference between, sympathy and empathy. And I think meditation helps you realize that. And I think sympathy is pity. It's people feeling bad for you. And I don't want that. I don't feel bad for me. I live my life, but empathy to relate to what I'm experiencing, to help me to not feel alone. And I feel like that, in the brain cancer group, like that's something really valuable because we all have the same thing, and in this group, I feel like it's important to just be and to say what you need to say, because we get that long chronic illness piece, like to really reach out to the people that you care about and that you love, and write the letters, especially if you can write. I mean, I have to type everything to make it even sort of legible, but to really reach out and connect with the people that are important to you, whether you're facing death or whether you have a cancer that is curable. But either way, what a great opportunity to reach out to, old friends and let them know that they're still important to you and that you still love them. And more importantly, to be there for your family and to really just be is, I think, a really powerful thing. I also, does anyone else have anything to say about meditation?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I started meditation. Someone had told me about Headspace, and so I tried it. And the first time I tried it, the first episode was really, really great. And
Was really what?
So I signed up for it, and after that, nothing. So I stayed with it because they said, well, you have to persist. So I tried persisting for a while, in a couple months, 15-minute sessions at a time, but it never had the same effect as that first one. So it's still on my phone and I'm still paying for it, but I don't use it. And it doesn't, maybe I'm doing it wrong.
But that's the great thing about meditation, is that there is no doing it wrong. you know, just to, and I think just to be silent for 5 minutes, or just to listen to that relaxing meditative music for 5 minutes, it allows your brain to come in contact with your body, and it allows you to focus on your breath, and it just kind of calms you, you know. And I think more than ever, how important that is for us as cancer patients, because it's hard.
Well, long before I had cancer, maybe this will put some perspective on it, but long before I had cancer, I used to do trips, car trips down to Atlanta, up to Watertown, New York, 8 hours at a time, 13 hours at a time. And no radio, just me and the tires on the road, which gives you a lot of time to think. Maybe I'm just not cut out for meditation. Maybe I'm just one of those people that shouldn't attempt that.
Well, like I said,
Yeah,
there is no doing it wrong. There
Right.
really
And just to interject a little bit too, Martin, is that, you know, the one thing I thought about meditation, I always thought there was the relaxation component was really the main goal. But as Amy's sharing, it really is more just about allowing your mind just to be in the present moment, and allowing things to come and allowing them to go. I think that's an important skill in meditation. And you know, and for instance, I was just at a wonderful continuing education seminar 2 weeks ago on a special type of therapy called ACT, and that stands for Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. And they use a lot of metaphors, and similar for this as we're talking about meditation. One of the metaphors, for instance, is imagining yourself as the sky. You are the sky, right? And that your thoughts are the weather in the sky. Sometimes they're sunny. You have sunny, you know, sunny thoughts that have come through. You're having sunny days. Some days you're having clouds. Some days there are storms. Some days there are blizzards. Some days there are tornadoes, right? But the premise of the weather is that it comes and it goes. And the sky is always status quo. And so if you think of meditation in that way, if you get the relaxation that comes along with it, that's a bonus. But that's really not the goal, or should be the goal of meditation. If that helps, and you know, give you a little more reference to it.
Martin, I never could meditate before either. And I don't know if it's really meditation other than taking myself just out of the moment. I take a picture of the sunset every night, whether the sun, you can see the sun or not. So I know it's sunny up above, but it's not necessarily down here. It could be raining, could be snowing, whatever. But I make myself realize this is temporary, what's in front of me right now. And I can imagine the picture I took yesterday or the one I took 2 days ago of the beautiful sunset. I can go there in my mind and appreciate the grayness of the sky. It helps me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is a fantastic idea. And that is meditation. There really is no wrong way to do it. And so I also want to say that, you know, for those to whom all of this sounds too good to be true, there is something here for you about heaven. And, you know, I think about it this way. Even if heaven is a farce and we just cease to exist, in that case, after death, you will no longer struggle with the pain you are currently experiencing. Your life is done and you are finally set free. You can truly rest in peace. So most of the people I talk with say they're praying for me or offering me good wishes or lifting me up to the universe. But then there are those who pray over me, not with me, and there's a big difference, to be physically healed. Then, if I say anything otherwise, they claim that I don't trust in God's healing powers. This is quite inaccurate. Believe me, if God were to physically heal me, you would not find a more grateful person. But this might not be what God has in mind for me, and it's hard to explain that to this kind of person. The reality that they are asking for might not be granted, and that this is still okay. It's usually easier not to argue with them. So while I respectfully say thank you, I crack up inside because I believe that the only time any of us are truly healed is when we die. And if I'm right, then they're really just asking God to take me home sooner, which is why I laugh. However, when I pray, it's different. I believe that solitude is not being lonely, but about being alone with God. Silence isn't not speaking, but it is listening to God. The only thing I ask for is to be open to what the source has planned for me each day, to be awake to what's around me and how to best respond. That's it. My body is getting worse daily, and yet when I wake up, I am all the more grateful. I am all the more okay. I don't live in the brokenness of being a victim, but in the freedom of being spiritually healed. I know where I'm going, which brings me joy in the here and now. On my last day, when I take my last breath, when I don't wake up, I will be better than okay. I'll be amazing. When I get to heaven, I will experience complete healing, something none of us can find here on earth. I will be my truest self when my eyes are open to bask in the beauty of my Creator. I think it's really important, every day to just take even just a little time to be aware of your breath. I think that brings you into one, your mind and breath together. And it's also really important to express your gratitude for another day, for the people that you love, for life, and for death. So I will leave you with, I end each chapter in this book with at least one poem. And I said earlier, mostly written in my youth, showing that I knew where my life was going before I even got there. And so I'm going to leave you with my most recent poem, which is in the book at the end of the brain cancer section. I sit here watching the autumn leaves blowing in the wind, bright orange and yellow as they fall to my feet. Seeing them disintegrate as I walk reminds me of the disintegration of my brain, day by day, a little more. Reminds me that in death, there is also life. I am united with the leaves, all part of the same cosmos. We are sisters, both reflecting our brief time on earth, a short chapter in the book of our existence. So Wendy, you're welcome to open it up to questions or comments or anything.
Sounds good. I just have to thank you for your wisdom and your just your heartfelt, life story, and I think that's what, makes this so special is that, it could be anybody's story, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you wanted to do, is touch people so that they knew that this could be their story as well, to be able to identify with, right? And so I appreciate you for that, in the kindest way, Amy. I thank you for that. I am gonna I'll change you guys our view. I'll remove Amy from the spotlight so you all can. Sometimes it's easier to look at everybody so we see who can raise their hands. I'm gonna go back to gallery view. There we go. Yeah, I've got to put my glasses on so that I can see everybody. So does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts?
I just have a comment, Wendy.
Sure, Harriet.
As a prophetic minister, I applaud you. I applaud you. This was fabulous. It was wonderful, and I just enjoyed it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're really welcome.
Mhm.
I'd like to say that I was raised a Christian. I've not gone to church for a long time, other than when I had my son living with me, and I think it was important for him to go to Sunday school and church to get the values that I did. But for those who don't, I want to throw this out. You have your own peace with God. God knows who you are, and to me, that's how I live my life, trying to do the golden rules. He understands me. And I understand how I should live my life. I don't live it by preaching to anybody or doing any of that. I respect those that do. But I don't think you have to feel that you have to be religious in a manner that you belong to a particular denomination or church in order to feel the blessing of what that can bring you with this disease.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not an overly religious person, but religion has helped me get through this. And my belief in God and people and the golden rule, being humble and compassionate and all that, without being out there as some people are, which is wonderful. Please don't take that wrong. It's not what I'm trying to say. But you don't have to be an organized religion person to take the benefit of the meditation and having God in your life, is what my point is, more than anything else.
Right.
And that was my point too in writing this book. It's not about becoming Catholic, or it's like it's just about how to find your beloved self within, and how to live out of that, and to be present each moment and meditate in a meditative way. And I think I was raised a Protestant. I chose to be Catholic. I love learning about Buddhist meditation, and I think that it can be applied to all religion. And I just it's not about what religion. It's about being able to just know that you're loved and know that you were put here on purpose at this time for this reason, and then to live out of that.
Thank you.
And to find meaning. Meaning is really important for all of us, and it doesn't matter if you are, 2 or 92. Having a sense of meaning and purpose is so important to be able to feel alive. And so I think it's really important to find that somewhere in your life, for sure. I just want to read you, I know Amy, I want to read you some of the comments of people that are saying. So one person said, thank you for sharing so honestly, blessings. Another person said, thank you for sharing your story with us. And another person said, I'm too choked up to come on camera, but I want to thank you for sharing, Amy, and everyone. I really needed to see this type of love and support. Bless you all. And again, thank you. So, I think we all need hope, right? That's an important part of this world right now. And this group, Amy, has been an extremely hopeful group. They've been such a delight to me, and mine has given me meaning. I tell them all the time in this COVID world we've lived in. And when we started, this was our first group, and I have a lot of my beginning peeps that are on here, and they have given, even those of us that work at the Cancer Caring Center meeting. So, I'm thankful for all of them. And, we're blessed to have each other, for sure, in many ways.
Well, and I also, my last thing is, I don't want to die with regrets. And I have really made it my life's goal, because I've had cancer for most of my adult life, is to be fully, to live a life well lived. And you can see some of that in my book, but I'm so grateful for all of the things that I've done and experienced, and and I don't feel like I have any regrets. And so, you know, as much as I am absolutely in love with being here and seeing my kids get older and, you know, all of that, I also know that when I go, I think we'll all be okay, you know.
Yeah.
I've been using a phrase "living to be alive" recently. I don't know if I read it somewhere or where. I really don't know, but I use that with a lot of people, or if I'm signing off from somebody, living to be alive.
I like
Beautiful.
that.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Amy, for sharing. And if I never see you again, I just want to say rest in peace.
And I certainly will. And that's what I want to say to all of you as well. You know, like when life is done, have it be so that you don't have any regrets. Say what you need to say, be present in the moment, you know, for the people in your family, and really try to accomplish everything that you can, but don't get all worked up about stuff you can't do. I learned that especially in chemo. Holy cow. So,
amen to that. I will definitely say that. I'm going to stop the recording for a second here.